Ease on in. Hey, what's up, guys? I was recording earlier, but I was so exhausted that I was actually babbling. So I was like, yeah, no, I'm going to re-record this. I am fully awake now, and we are going to continue part 2 of David Berkowitz. So, yeah, don't mind me. I'm just always singing random shit now. It's kind of like my thing. Kind of, sort of, not really. Alright, so where did we last leave off, guys? We already had past those shootings. Okay. The Moskowitz Volante shooting, because we had did Lupo and Placido earlier before I ended the last one. So the first anniversary of the initial .44 caliber shootings was approaching, and the police established a sizable dragnet that emphasized the past hunting grounds in Queens and the Bronx. However, the next final .44 shooting occurred in Brooklyn. Early on July 31st, 1977, Stacy Moskowitz, a secretary, and Robert Valenti, a clothing store salesman, both 20, were in Valenti's car, which was parked under a streetlight near a city park in New York, in the neighborhood of Bath Beach, on their first date. They were kissing when the man approached within a 90 centimeter 3 feet of the passenger side of Valenti's car and fired 4 rounds into the car, striking both victims in the head before escaping into the park. A man named Tommy Ziano was a witness to the shooting. Valenti lost his left eye, and Moskowitz, the only blonde victim of Berkowitz, died from her injuries. So remember, guys, he kept shooting women with long brunette hair. That night, Detective John Valetico was awakened at home and was told to report to the 10th Homicide Division at the 60th Precinct Station House in Coney Island. He was given 2 weeks to work on the Moskowitz Volante case as a normal murder investigation. If it could not be solved in that time frame, it would be then given to the Son of Sam task force. So they actually set up a task force so they can track him down. So he was already, like we said, he had an MO of shooting people in cars, especially if the women had brunette hair. That was a calling card, I guess you could say. Suspicion and capture in 77. Suspicion, August 9th. Local resident Cecilia Davis was walking her dog at the scene of the Moskowitz and Volante shooting when she saw patrol officer Michael Cantillo, my bad. Yeah. I'm not good with pronouncing some names. Sorry, guys. And she saw him ticketing a car that was parked near the fire hydrant. Moments later, after the traffic police had left, a young man walked past her from the area of the car and seemed to be studying her with some interest. Davis felt concerned because he was holding in his hand some kind of dark object. She ran into her home only to hear shots fired behind her in the street. Davis remained silent about this experience for 4 days until she finally contacted police, who closely checked every car that had been ticketed in the area that night. So she did see Berkowitz, but didn't know right away that was him. No one knew what Son of Sam looked like, but you get those vibes. Berkowitz's 1970 four-door yellow Ford Galaxy was among the cars that they investigated. On August 9th, 1977, NYPD Detective James Justice telephoned Yonkers police to ask him to schedule an interview with Berkowitz. The Yonkers police dispatcher who took the Justice's call was Wheat Carr, the daughter of Sam Carr and the sister of Berkowitz's alleged cult confederates John and Michael Carr. Okay. Justice asked the Yonkers police for some help tracking down Berkowitz. According to Mike Novotny, a sergeant at the Yonkers Police Department, the Yonkers police had their own suspicions about Berkowitz in connection and with other strange crimes in Yonkers, crimes that they saw referred to one of the Son of Sam letters. The Yonkers investigators even told the New York City detective that Berkowitz might be the Son of Sam. So they already had suspicions. And they even had placed a name because he was always kind of popping up. The arrest, August 10th. On the next day, August 10th, 1977, police investigated Berkowitz's car that was parked on the street outside his apartment building at 35 Pine Street in Yonkers. They saw a gun in the back seat, searched the car, and found a duffel bag filled with ammunition, maps of the crime scenes, and a threatening letter addressed to Inspector Timothy Dowd of the Omega Task Force. Police decided to wait for Berkowitz to leave the apartment rather than risk a violent encounter in the building's narrow hallway. They also waited to obtain a search warrant for the apartment. Worried that their search may be challenged in court, the initial search of the vehicle was based on the handgun that was visible in the back seat, although possession of such a gun was legal in New York State and required no special permit. The warrant still had not arrived when Berkowitz exited the apartment building about 10 p.m. and entered his car. He was probably like, oh shit, time to go on the prowl. Detective John Falatico approached the driver's side of the car. Falatico then pointed his gun close to Berkowitz's temple, while Detective Sergeant William Gardella pointed his gun from the passenger side. A paper bag containing a .44 caliber bulldog revolver that was identified in ballistics test was found next to Berkowitz in the car. Berkowitz then stated flatly, "Well, you got me," as described in The Son of Sam by Lawrence D. Klausner. Detective Falatico remembered with a big, inexplicable smile on his face. "Now that I've got you," Detective Falatico said to the suspect, "Who have I got?" "You know," the man said in what the detective remembered with a soft, almost sweet voice. "No, I don't. You tell me." The man turned his head and said, "I'm Sam." "You're Sam? Sam who?" "Sam David Berkowitz." The alternate version claimed that Berkowitz's first words were reported to be, "Well, you got me. How come it took you such a long time?" Detective John Falatico was officially credited by the NYPD as the arresting officer of Son of Sam. The police searched apartment 7E and found it in disarray, with satanic graffiti on the walls. They also found diaries that he kept since he was 21 years old, and 3 stenographer's notebooks, nearly full of all wherein Berkowitz meticulously noted hundreds of arsons that he claimed to have set throughout New York City. Yeah, I talk too fast sometimes, guys. Sorry. Some sources speculate that this number might be over 1,400. Soon after Berkowitz's arrest, the address of the building was changed from 35 Pine Street to 42 as an attempt to end its notoriety. Maybe because people were coming by trying to check it out or break into the apartment, you know. It's like the Ed Gein house. They were gonna make a sideshow out of it, and all of a sudden it just goes up in flames. Coincidence? I think not. Okay. Alright. Sorry, guys. After the arrest, Berkowitz was briefly held in the Yonkers police station before being transported directly to the 60th Precinct in Coney Island, where the detectives' task force was located. At about 1 a.m., Mayor Abraham Beam arrived to see the suspect personally. After a brief and wordless encounter, he announced to the media, "The people of New York City can rest easy because the fact that the police have captured the man who they believe to be the Son of Sam." The confession. August 11th. I'm like, okay, so it's like a big wave of relief when people like say, okay, we got the Son of Sam, cool. Alright, so where are we? Oh yeah, the confession. August 11th. Berkowitz was interrogated for about 30 minutes in the early morning of August 11th, 1977. He quickly confessed to the shootings and expressed an interest in pleading guilty. An investigation was led by John Keenan, who took the confession. During questioning, Berkowitz claimed that his neighbor's dog was one of the reasons why he killed, stating that the dog demanded the blood of pretty young girls, and he said that Sam, mentioned in the first letter, was his former neighbor Sam Carr. Berkowitz claimed that Harvey, Carr's black Labrador retriever, was possessed by an ancient demon that issued irresistible commands that Berkowitz must kill people. Weeks after his arrest and confession, Berkowitz was permitted to communicate with the press in a letter to the New York Post dated September 19th, 1977. Berkowitz alluded that the original story of his demonic possession, but closed with the warning that has been interpreted by some investigators as a mission of criminal accomplices. There are other sons out there. God help the world. At a press conference in February 1979, however, Berkowitz declared that his previous claims of demonic possession were a hoax. So he was like, yeah, I was just fucking with you. Berkowitz stated that in a series of meetings with the special court-appointed psychiatrist David Abrahamson, that he had a long contemplated murder to get revenge on the world that he had felt rejected and hurt him. Because you remember, guys, his own mother gave him up at birth. And he found out the bitter truth, and was pissed off about it. I mean, I would be pissed off too, but seriously. I mean, you could have gone to therapy. I'm just saying. But, you know, I guess things were like, I don't know how to explain it. Sentencing in prison. Ow. I gotta get up. Oh my god. I was like laying on my stomach. Okay. 3 separate mental health examinations determined that Berkowitz was competent to stand trial. Despite this, defense lawyers advised Berkowitz to enter a plea of not guilty by reason of insanity, but Berkowitz refused. He appeared to be calm in court on May 8th, 1978, as he pleaded guilty to all the shootings. After sentencing 2 weeks later, Berkowitz caused an uproar when he attempted to jump out of a window of the 7th floor courtroom. After he was restrained, he repeatedly chanted, "Stacy," his last victim, "was a whore," he shouted. "I'd kill her again. I'd kill them all again." But the court ordered another psychiatric examination before sentencing could proceed. During that evaluation, Berkowitz drew a sketch of a jailed man surrounded by numerous walls. At the bottom, he wrote, "I am not well at all." Nonetheless, Berkowitz was found again competent to stand trial. On June 12, 1978, Berkowitz was sentenced to 25 years to life in prison for each murder to be served consecutively. So it's like one after another. And in the state of New York, a life sentence is a span to 20 to 25 years. So what's 25 times 6, guys? Yeah, he ain't getting out. To be served consecutively, he was ordered to serve time in Attica Correctional Facility in upstate New York Supermax Prison. So Attica, what do I know about Attica? So Attica actually is the, I guess it has a lot of notoriety, I guess you could say. H. Rap Brown was a Black Panther Party leader who served a sentence in Attica from 71 to 76. Jimmy Cassie, a captain in the Los Angeles crime family, spent 8 years in Attica during the 70s for armed robbery. Mark David Chapman. For you guys who do not know who Mark David Chapman is, he is a man who assassinated John Lennon in 1980. He was sentenced 20 years to life and has been denied parole 11 times amid campaigns against his release. Chapman is now housed in Windy Correctional Facility. Joseph Christopher. He is an American serial killer who gained infamy for the series of murders in early Buffalo. He died in 93, and he was housed in Attica in 85. Edward Klemensky Westies. He was a hitman. He was a Westies hitman during the 70s. Wow. Colin Ferguson, who murdered 6 people on the Long Island Railroad and a racist attack in 1993. He was sentenced to multiple life sentences. Ferguson is now housed at Upstate Correctional Facility. So he was housed with a bunch of, I guess you could say, known serial killers, hitmen, just your roundabout bunch of people. And yeah, Attica is a upstate New York supermax prison. Despite prosecutors' objections, the terms of Berkowitz's guilty plea made him eligible for parole in 25 years. After his arrest, Berkowitz was initially confined to a psych ward in Kings County Hospital, where the staff reported he seemed remarkably troubled by his new environment. One day after his sentencing, he was taken to Sing Sing prison. So, Sing Sing, let me see. Those are all the wardens. Okay, so Frank Abendando, a contract killer with the infamous Murder Incorporated gang. George Apple, a 19th century pickpocket and con artist. Charles Becker, an NYPD lieutenant then convicted for the murder of Herman Rosenthal and executed at Sing Sing in 1915. Maria Barbella, the second woman sentenced to death by electric chair. My bad. I was going to say electrocution. electric chair. Later overruled and she was free. Louis Balcher. I don't know how to fucking say that. Sorry. Albert Fish was in Sing Sing. If you guys don't know who Albert Fish is, he's a fucking child killer. And he is a cannibal. He ate children. Yep, he was a child rapist, cannibal, executed in 1936. Rightfully so. He needed to go. Mary Jones, a 19th century transgender prostitute who was the center of media attention for coming to court wearing feminine attire. Tony Sirico, an actor known for his role as Paulie Gualtieri on the critically acclaimed television series The Sopranos, convicted of felonies, weapons possessions, and served 20 months for his 4 years stint at Sing Sing. So, Raymond Fernandez and Martha Beck, the so-called Lonely Heart Killers, both executed in the electric chair at Sing Sing in 1951. So, that place has their own infamous line of killers and mobsters and whatnot in there. Alright. Then he went up to upstate Clinton Correctional Facility for psychiatric and physical examinations. 2 more months were spent at the Central New York Psychiatric Center in Marcy before his admission to Attica. Berkowitz served about a decade in Attica until he was relocated in 1990 to Sullivan Correctional Facility, where he remained for many years until he was transferred to Shawangunk Correctional Facility in Ulster County. I probably butchered that fucking name. I mean, yeah. Berkowitz described life in Attica as a nightmare. Well, no shit, you're like housed with murderers, you're rapists, and all that fucking bad shit. I mean, what do you think it was gonna be? Fucking day camp in there? Hello. In 1979, there was an attempt on Berkowitz's life, in which the left side of his neck was slashed from front to back, resulting in a wound that required more than 50 stitches to close. Berkowitz refused to identify his assailant, and he claimed only that he was grateful for the attack brought a sense of justice, or in Berkowitz's own words, the punishment I deserve. So, yeah. He didn't tell because he knows code. Snitches get stitches or worse. Evangelical faith. Berkowitz became an evangelical Christian in prison. I was at Preston. According to personal testimony, his moment of conversion occurred while reading Psalm 34:6 from the Bible, given to him by a fellow inmate. He says he no longer wanted to be referred to the son of Sam, but the son of hope. Hope what? After his imprisonment, Berkowitz invited Malachi Martin, an exorcist, to help him compose an autobiography, but the offer was not accepted. I mean, why would he accept it? You're legit trying to gain sympathy from somebody that don't want nothing to do with you. Open HBO Max. Sorry guys, I'm trying to watch something too. During the later years, Berkowitz developed his memoirs with assistance from evangelicals. The statements was released as an interview video, Son of Hope, during 1998, with the more extensive work released from a book form entitled The Son of Hope, Prison Journals of David Berkowitz in 2006. Berkowitz did not receive any royalties or profit from any of the sales of his work. He has continued to write essays on faith and repentance for evangelical websites. The website is maintained on his behalf by the church group. Since he is not allowed to access a computer, Berkowitz stays involved with prison ministry and regularly counsels troubled inmates. While in Sullivan facility, he pursued education and graduated with honors from Sullivan Community College. Berkowitz was entitled to a parole hearing every 2 years as mandated by state law, though he has consistently refused to ask for his release, sometimes skipping the hearings altogether. Before his first parole hearing in 2002, Berkowitz sent a letter to the New York Governor George Pataki, demanding that it be canceled. He wrote, in all honesty, I believe what I deserve to be in prison for the rest of my life. I have, with God's help, long ago come to terms with my situation, and I accepted my punishment. Officials at the Sullivan facility rejected his demand, because by law, you have to go to your parole meetings whether you like it or not. Berkowitz stated that parole was unrealistic. He felt he had improved in himself behind bars, adding, I feel I'm not at risk whatsoever. His lawyer, Mark Heller, noted that prison staff considered Berkowitz to be a model prisoner. Commissioners denied a parole. Even though I think some people, because you tried to change a new leaf and all this other shit, that you try to do better for, I guess, turn your ways around, I guess. It's like what he's doing with the whole not missionary, but the fighting of a new faith and all this stuff, that you're going to change, and you might want to be released, but you don't know if you're going to there's the whole question, even though they say they've changed, are they going to reoffend again? That's the big question that they're asking. If we give him parole, what's the chances of him reoffending? Some prisoners, or some people who were in prison, claim to change their ways, and days, weeks, months, or years, they reoffend. So there's always that stigma of are they gonna reoffend? So they just never know. But they denied his parole. And in 2018, the board again denied the release of Berkowitz on parole. His next hearing was scheduled for May 2020. The COVID-19 pandemic delayed his hearing until further notice. Other activities. So during 2002, the D.C. sniper attacks were happening. Berkowitz wrote a letter telling the sniper to stop hurting innocent people. Berkowitz made his comments in a 3-page letter to Rita Cosby, the senior Chicago correspondent for Fox News Channel, after Cosby wrote him seeking a comment on the sniper attacks. During 2005, Berkowitz sued one of his previous lawyers for the misappropriation of a large number of letters, photographs, and personal possessions Hugo Harmatz, a New Jersey attorney, had represented Berkowitz in an earlier legal effort to prevent the National Enquirer from buying one of his letters. Harmatz himself published his own collection of the letters and memorabilia, Dear David, in 2005, in which he obtained from Berkowitz during the consultation. Berkowitz stated that he would drop the lawsuit only if the attorney signed over all the money he made to victims' families. In 2006, Berkowitz and Harmatz settled out of court, with Harmatz agreeing to return the disputed items and to donate part of his book profits to the New York State Crimes Victims Boards. Oh my God. I mean, he said, sign it over to the victims' families. He said, nah, I'll do this instead. I mean, lawyers can be shady as shit too. The satanic cult accomplice claims. In 1979, Berkowitz mailed a book about witchcraft to police in North Dakota, which he underlined several passages and written a few marginal notes, including the phrase, Arliss Perry haunted Stockton's Lane, followed to Caliph, Stanford University. The reference was to Arliss Perry, a 19-year-old North Dakota newlywed who had been murdered at Stanford in October 1974. Her death was a notorious abuse of her corpse in a chapel on campus, which was widely reported case. Berkowitz mentioned that the Perry attack and other letters suggested he knew details of it from the perpetrator himself. Local police investigators interviewed him, but now believed he had nothing to offer. Arliss Perry case was solved in 2018. After his admission to Sullivan Prison, Berkowitz began to claim that he had joined a satanic cult in the spring of 1975. In 1993, Berkowitz made these claims known as he announced to the press that he killed only 3 of the Son of Sam victims: Donna Luria, Alexandra Asau, and Valentino Siriani. And he said that he and several other cult members were involved in every incident by planning the events, providing early surveillance of the victims, acting as lookouts and drivers at the crime scenes. Berkowitz stated that he could not divulge the names of most of his accomplices without putting his family directly at risk. Among Berkowitz's alleged unnamed associates was a female cult member who he claims fired a gun at Denaro and Keenan, whom both survived. Berkowitz said because the alleged accomplice was unfamiliar with the powerful recoil of the .44 caliber Bulldog, Berkowitz declared that at least 5 cult members were at the scene of the Fruendial shooting, but the actual shooter was a prominent cult associate who had been brought from the outside and New York with an unspecified motive, a cult member who identified by nickname Manson 2. Another unnamed person was the gunman at the Moskowitz Volante case, a male cult member who had arrived from North Dakota for the occasion without an explanation. Berkowitz did name 2 of cult members, John and Michael Carr. The 2 men were the sons of dog owner Sam Carr, and they lived nearby Warburton Avenue. Both of these other sons of Sam were long dead. John Carr had been killed in the shooting judged a suicide in North Dakota during 1978, and Michael Carr had been in a fatal car crash in 1979. Berkowitz claimed that the perpetrator of the Damascus and Lomino shooting was John Carr. He added that the Yonkers police officer, also a cult member, was involved in this crime. He also claimed that Michael Carr fired the shots at Lupo and Placido. Author Maurice Terry wrote that Michael Carr was a very active Scientologist who had traveled to Scientology's Mecca and Clearwater, Florida. So, yeah. Unless he was a Kakan, who knows? According to Terry, at the time of Berkowitz's arrest, he was in possession of a list of telephone numbers, including a number of Scientology's Fort Harrison Hotel facility in Clearwater. Scientology, guys, that's a cult. It's been outed as such. So, yeah. Case reopened. Journalist John Hockenberry asserted that, even and apart from satanic cult claims, many officials doubt the single shooter theory, writing, "What most don't know about the Son of Sam case is that from the beginning not everyone brought the idea that Berkowitz acted alone." John Stantucci, Queens District Attorney at the time, at the killings, and the police investigator Mike Novotny both expressed their convictions that Berkowitz had accomplices. NYPD officer Richard Johnson, involved in the original investigations, opined the unresolved discrepancies in statements from witnesses and surviving victims indicate Berkowitz did not act alone. Why were there 3 suspect cars, 5 different suspect descriptions, different heights, different shapes, different sizes of the perpetrator? Somebody else was there. Other contemporaries voiced their belief that the satanic cult theory, including Donald Luara's father and Carl DiNaro, who stated his opinion that more than one person was involved, but he admitted he could not prove the cult theory. DiNaro's conclusion rests on the criticism of Berkowitz's statement as police is totally false. John Dale's recollection is he physically bumped into Berkowitz outside the Wine Gallery restaurant, and he and Christine Ferrin departed and walked to his car where the shooting occurred. Berkowitz, in contrast, told the police that he passed within a few feet of Dale and Ferrin shortly before they entered the car. Dwell contends that he and Ferrin passed no one on their way into the car and further the placement of the car to the curb, where it made it impossible for Berkowitz to have snuck up on them in a few minutes between their encounter outside the restaurant and shooting in the car. Dwell thus reasons he was shot by someone other than Berkowitz. Hockenberry's report was given such exposure by Dateline NBC in 2004. He discussed journalist Maury Terry, who began investigating the Son of Sam shootings before Berkowitz was arrested. Terry published a series of investigative articles in the Gannett newspapers in 1979, which challenged the official explanation of the lone gunman, vigorously denied by police at the time. Terry's articles were widely read and discussed. They were later assembled in book form as The Ultimate Evil, expanded in the second edition in 1999, largely impelled by these reports of accomplices in satanic cult activity. The Son of Sam case was reopened by Yonkers police during 1996, but no new charges were filed. Due to lack of findings and investigations was eventually suspended but remains open. From prison, Berkowitz continued to assert and expand upon his claims of demonic possession. He stated in a series of 9 videos in 2015 that the voice he heard was that of Samhain, a druid devil from the true origin of Son of Sam, and he added that it was never a dog, but saying that the detail was fabricated by the media. Samhain, guys. Samhain is actually the true name of Halloween, and it's an Irish, Scottish, Gaelic Samhain. There's different. It's Celtic. It's a Celtic name, so it's a Gaelic festival marking the end of the harvest season, the beginning of the winter or darker half of the year. In the Northern Hemisphere, it's held on November 1st, but with celebrations beginning on the evening of October 31st. As the Celtic Day began on the ended Sunday, halfway between the autumn equinox and the winter solstice. It is one of the 4 quarter days associated with the Gaelic seasonal festivals, along with Imbolc, Beltane, and Lugnasa, historically observed throughout Ireland and Scotland and Isle of Man, where it's called Samhain. So basically, it's that's what people. That's where Halloween originated from. What we all know as Halloween is technically called Samhain. So that's kind of messed up that he threw that, and they're trying to say that it's evil when it's not. Skeptics. Berkowitz's later claims were dismissed by many. Newspaper columnist Jimmy Breslin rejected his story of satanic cult accomplices, stating that when he talked to David Berkowitz that night, he recalled everything step by step. The guy has 1,000% recall, and that's it. He's the guy, and there's something else to look at it. Skeptics included former FBI profiler Johnny Douglas, who spent hours interviewing Berkowitz, stated that he was convinced that Berkowitz acted alone and was an introverted loner, not capable of being involved in group activity. NYPD psychologist Dr. Harvey Schlossberg stated in Against the Law, the documentary about the Son of Sam case, he believes that the satanic cult claims were nothing but a fantasy concocted by Berkowitz to absolve himself of the crimes. In his book, Hunting Humans, Elliot Layton argued that the recent journalistic attempts to abridge or even deny Berkowitz's guilt have lacked all credibility. So, no matter how you paint it, he's always going to be guilty because he was the one that pulled the trigger. Regardless that they said they had accomplices, and though they did not. So, this is the legacy that is now led. Decades after his arrest, the name of Son of Sam remains widely recognized as that of the notorious serial killer. Many manifestations in popular culture have helped perpetuate the notoriety, while Berkowitz himself continues to express remorse on Christian websites. Nasa Moskowitz, who had previously not hidden her hatred of Berkowitz, wrote him a letter shortly after her own death in 2006, my bad, forgiving him for killing her daughter Stacy. So he was the one that was her mom. Gotta find my show real quick, guys. Sorry. Alright. Okay. Moskowitz lost her children at young ages. Jody, 9, in a possible suicide in 68. Stacy and Ricky, 37, 99, of scleroderma. Scleroderma is a group of autoimmune diseases that may result in changes to skin, blood vessels, muscles, and internal organs. So her son Ricky passed from that. Stacy was murdered by Berkowitz, and Jody was a possible suicide at 9 years old. She had no survivors except, according to the New York Post, but her daughter's murderer. So, legal effects. The Son of Sam law. After rampant speculation about publishers offering Berkowitz large sums of money for his story, the New York state legislature swiftly passed a new law that prevented convicted criminals and their relatives from making any financial profit from books, movies, and other enterprises related to the stories of the crimes. The U.S. Supreme Court struck down on the so-called Son of Sam law for violating the First Amendment right of free expression in 1991. The case of Simon and Schuster Incorporated versus the Crime Victims Board. But New York produced a constitutionally revised version of the law the following year. Similar laws have been since enacted in 41 states and at federal level. So, oh my goodness. In pop culture, Jimmy Breslin, in collaboration with writer Dick Shop, published a novelized account of the murders, 44 caliber. And less than a year after Berkowitz's arrest, a highly fictionated plot recounts the exploits of Berkowitz's base character dubbed Bernard Rosenfeld outside North America. The book renamed Son of Sam. 2016 young adult novel Burn Baby Burn by Meg Medina is set in New York during 1977 and depicts how fear of being when the son of Sam's victims affected the lives of daily people. It was also referred to by Lee Child in his Jack Reacher series and short novella High Heat. TV and film. The Spike Lee drama Summer of Sam was released in 1999 when Michael Badalucca in the role of Son of Sam. The film depicts the tensions that developed in the Bronx neighborhood during the shootings, and Berkowitz's part is largely symbolic. A minor character in the script, he functions mostly in the berserk metaphor for Lee's view as the 70s as a period of immoral excess. Berkowitz was reported to be disturbed by what he called the exploitation of the ugliness of the past in Lee's film. Other portrayals of Berkowitz include Yuli Lomel's Son of Sam, direct-to-video, CBS television movie Out of Darkness, and the miniseries The Bronx is Burning. Oliver Cooper portrayed him in the TV series Mindhunter. 2021, there was a documentary series called Son of Sam, a Descent into Darkness, going back to describing in detail the satanic cult theory as well as the journalist Maury Terry's point of view and investigation as a reporter. In the Seinfeld episode of Diplomat's Club, Kramer uses the mailbag of David Berkowitz, owned by Newman, as collateral for a bet on the airplane arrival times. In another Seinfeld episode, The Frogger, Kramer proposes the name Son of Dad as a nickname for a serial killer, the Loper. They reference Berkowitz's nickname, Son of Sam. In the Seinfeld episode, The Junk Mail, Jerry's friend finds George in Jerry's van, and the van, even though it says though says through the closed driver's side window, Seinfeld's van. George mistakes this for Son of Sam and explains, I knew it wasn't Berkowitz. That's kind of fucked up. Music. So there was a song called Psycho Killer by the Talking Heads. Likewise, Elliott Smith stated that his song Son of Sam was not literally about Berkowitz. Compositions are more directly inspired by events include Son of Sam by the Dead Boys, Son of Sam by the Chain Gang, Looking Down at the Barrel of the Gun by the Beastie Boys. Chris Calico released a album titled Son of Sam. Lucky's 2016 EP Son of Sam features album artwork depicting the page from the Son of Sam letter. Billy Joel mentioned these events in the opening of the song Close the Borderline. And the 1980 album Glass Houses, guitarist Scott Putsky used the stage name Daisy Berkowitz while playing it with Marilyn Manson in 1990s. I remember that. And that was, I think that was the keyboardist, or was the drummer Daisy Berkowitz. Yeah. The band's song Son of Man conspicuously describes as Berkowitz. Other than rock musicians established a full symbol of Son of Sam during 2000. Shine Down. Green Jellies, comedy rock video Serial Killer. Yeah, so there's a lot of, pop culture things involved with the Son of Sam, but like you all know now, he is not allowed to collect any royalties from anything because of the Son of Sam law. So as we know, he's still in jail. He's still in prison. There's no chance of him getting out because he's still serving a 6 consecutive life sentence. So that was it, guys. That was David Berkowitz. There's a lot of craziness in the world, guys. Be safe out there. So, with that being said, guys, I'm going to stop here, and I'll check you out tomorrow. I'm going to do John Wayne Gacy, but I already did a podcast on him already, so I'm just going to name the list of movies and pop culture things around so you can, check it out for yourself. So, stay safe, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye.